The first time Day saw the tall blue alien, she knew he was trouble, standing nearly 8 feet tall with skin like polished blue stone. Krell strutted through the space station main hall as if he owned it. His forearms showed big muscles, and the golden bands around his wrists marked him as a champion of the Vex Empire. Day watched from behind her small shop, where she sold earth teas to travelers at only 5 feet tall with a round face and dark eyes that missed nothing. She looked small and weak. No one on Centauri Station knew she had once been Earth top fighter in the hidden art of Sundo, the ancient Korean energy combat technique that the rest of the galaxy thought was just old stories. Another pathetic human, Krell shouted, stopping. At her shop, your kind are so fragile. Day smiled politely. Would you like to try some jasmine tea? It is quite popular. Krell laughter was loud and filled the hall. Tea? Why would a champion drink leaf water? He leaned down, his face close to hers. I have defeated warriors from 57 systems. No human has ever lasted more than 10 seconds against me. The crowd that gathered whispered. Day noticed her friend Jun watching nervously from his repair shop across the hall. His eyes warned her to be careful. That is fascinating, Day said, pouring herself a cup of tea, but I am just a tea seller. The fighting arena needs more entertainment tonight, Krell announced. I challenge you. Tiny human. The station rules were clear. Challenges could not be refused. Without losing your business, the rule was meant to keep peace by allowing formal fighting to settle problems. But the Vex had twisted it into a tool for bullying. Very well, Day said calmly. I accept your challenge for tonight. Arena. Krell, yellow eyes, got big in surprise, then he threw his head back and laughed again. She accepts, the little tea seller accepts. He pointed at her with one of his 4 massive arms. I will break you without even trying. As he walked away, Jun rushed over. Are you crazy? That is Krell the Bone Crusher. He has killed 3 challengers this month. Day sipped her tea. Do not worry. I have dealt with worse back home. What no one on the station knew was that Day had not come to Centauri to sell tea. Earth Intelligence Agency had sent her to spy on the Vex Empire growing power. Her cover as a simple vendor had been perfect until now. That evening, as she prepared for the fight, Day received a message from her commander back on Earth. Do not reveal everything. The message read, but do not die either. We need you. The fighting arena was full. Beings from across the galaxy filled the seats, most betting heavily against the human tea seller in the preparation room. Day closed her eyes and focused on her breathing, centering her energy the way her grandmother had taught her since she was small. When they called her name, she walked out wearing simple black pants and a fitted gray top. The crowd laughter washed over her like rain. Krell entered from the opposite side, his massive blue form shining under the lights. He had added 2 more golden bands to his arms and wore special armor that left his chest showing. Begin, the announcer shouted. Krell moved around her slowly. I will give you one chance to beg for mercy. Human. Day stood perfectly still, her feet planted shoulder width apart, hands relaxed at her sides. No, then die with your pride. Krell jumped forward with amazing speed, all 4 arms striking at once. Day did not move her feet. She simply shifted her weight slightly, moving her body just enough that all 4 blows missed by tiny amounts. The crowd gasped. Krell yellow eyes narrowed. Luck, he said, and attacked again, this time with a spinning kick that would have taken her head off if it had hit again. Day did not move her feet. She ducked under the kick, her movement so smooth it looked like Krell had simply missed fight back. Krell roared, his control breaking. If you insist, Day said softly. The alien champion pointed at her face and laughed. What can you possibly? He never finished the sentence. Day's hand shot out in a motion too fast for most eyes to follow. She did not punch or strike. She simply touched Krell, pointing arm at a specific point, channeling Sundo energy through her fingertips. The sound of breaking bone echoed through the arena. Krell arm bent backward at an impossible angle. He screamed in pain and shock. The crowd fell silent. The human had not even moved her feet. After that first fight, everyone on the station looked at Day differently, some with fear, others with respect, but all with new awareness. Krell had been taken away by Vex medical team. His pride hurt worse than his broken arm. Day returned to her tea shop the next morning, as if nothing had happened. But when June visited, he was full of questions. How did you do that? He asked, helping her arrange tea canisters on the shelves. You barely touched him. Energy flows through all living things. Dai explained. My grandmother taught me to feel those flows and redirect them when needed. Jun shook his head in wonder. The station has been talking about nothing else all night. The Vex officials are furious. Their champion beaten by a human T-seller. Day frowned. She had not meant to draw so much attention. Her mission required staying hidden, gathering information on Vex activities. Now she was the center of attention. Perhaps they will forget soon, she said, knowing it was unlikely. June laughed. The Vex never forget and never forgive. You should be careful. That afternoon, tall blue figures, in formal military clothing, watched her shop from across the hall. Vex officials studying her every movement. Day pretended not to notice, but inside she was worried. Her communicator, hidden in her sleeve, vibrated with a message from Earth Command. Situation changed. Remain in place. Await instructions. That evening, after closing the shop, Day practiced her Sundo forms in her small apartment above the tea shop, moving through the ancient patterns, her body flowing like water around imaginary opponents. She needed to be ready. A soft knock at her door interrupted her practice. June stood outside, looking nervous. The station administrator wants to see you, he whispered. Something is happening. The Vex have filed a formal complaint. Day nodded. I will come. As they walked through the quiet station corridors, June stayed close, his shoulder touching hers. Are you really just a tea seller? He asked. Finally. Day looked at him, thinking carefully about her answer. June had been kind to her since she arrived, helping her set up her shop, teaching her about station life. Could she trust him with the truth? Before she could decide, they reached the administrator office. A tall human man named Han waited inside, his face serious. The situation is complicated, he said. As soon as they entered, the Vex ambassador has demanded you be turned over to them for questioning about your fighting abilities. They claim you used illegal technology in the arena. I used no technology, Day replied. Just skill. Han sighed. That may be true, but the Vex are powerful and the station council is nervous. If we refuse, they might pull their business from Centauri. And if you hand me over, June asked, what happens to Day? The ambassador has assured me she will be treated with respect, Han said, not sounding convinced. Day remained calm outwardly, but her mind worked quickly. Her cover was blown, her mission compromised, but perhaps there was opportunity here as well. When is this meeting with the Vex ambassador? She asked. Tomorrow morning, Han replied. I am sorry, Day. I tried to delay it. Thank you for the warning, she said, rising to leave. I will be ready. As they left the office, June grabbed her arm. You cannot seriously be thinking of meeting the Vex alone. Day smiled. Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. That night, as the station artificial night cycle began, Day prepared not for running, but for confrontation. The Vex had revealed something important in their reaction to her, something worth investigating further. Tomorrow would bring danger but also answers, and Day was ready for both. Impossible. Krell held his broken arm, his yellow eyes wide with shock. What magic is this? Day remained still, her feet planted exactly where they had been at the start of the match. No magic, just skill. The arena had gone quiet. Even the announcer seemed frozen in surprise. Then whispers spread quickly through the crowd. Did you see that? She barely touched him. Is this some human secret power? Blood, the color of copper, dripped from Krell's broken arm. His other 3 arms shook with anger as he backed away from Day. This fight is not over, he growled. It should be, Day replied calmly. You need medical help. But wounded pride was more dangerous than any injury. Krell roared and charged again, this time using his remaining 3 arms to hold small energy. Blades, weapons not allowed in the arena. Illegal weapons, someone shouted from the crowd. Day sighed. She had hoped to keep her abilities mostly hidden, but Krell was giving her no choice, as the alien champion slashed at her with amazing speed. She finally moved her feet. What happened next left the audience speechless. Day flowed around Krell like water around stone. Each strike met empty air, as she seemed to know his movements before he made them. Then she stepped inside his guard and placed her palm against his chest. There was no visible energy, no dramatic effect, just a gentle push, but Krell flew backward 10 feet and crashed to the ground, gasping for breath. The match is over, Day announced, looking to the stunned referee. After a moment of hesitation, the referee raised his hand. Victory to the human. The arena exploded. Some cheered, others booed, but most simply stared in amazement. No one had ever defeated Krell so easily, and certainly no human, as medical robots carried the groaning champion away. Jun rushed to Day's side. That was amazing. Where did you learn to fight like that? His eyes were wide with excitement. Family tradition, she said with a small smile. Let's get back to the shop. I could use some tea. But returning to normal life would not be so simple by morning. Everyone on Centauri Station was talking about the human tea vendor who had humiliated the great Krell. Some stories claimed she had used forbidden technology. Others said she was not human at all, but some new species in disguise. Most troubling were the Vex officials who now watched her shop from a distance, tall blue figures in formal military clothes. They made no attempt to hide their interest in her. You have drawn too much attention, Jun warned as they opened. The tea shop the next morning. The Vex do not forgive humiliation. I will handle it, Day said, arranging her tea containers, but secretly, she was worried her mission required staying hidden. Gathering intelligence on Vex activities, now she was the center of attention. Her communication device vibrated with a secret message from Earth Command: cover compromised. Prepare for extraction. Day's heart sank. She had grown fond of her little tea shop and the friends she had made on the station, especially Jung, with his easy smile and gentle way. As she thought about how to tell him she would be leaving, the shop door opened. A human man in expensive clothes entered Han, the station administrator. His usual friendly face was replaced with worry. Day. We need to talk, he said quietly. The Vex ambassador has requested a formal meeting with you tomorrow. I sell tea. Administrator Han. I am not a diplomat. Han leaned closer. This is not about tea, the ambassador said. He paused. He said, they want to discuss your special abilities and how they might help relations between humans and the Vex Empire. Day's face showed nothing, but her mind raced. This was not the reaction she had expected. The Vex were known for their pride and aggression, not diplomatic offers. After defeat I will meet with them, she said finally. When Han left, Jun touched her arm gently. What are you not telling me, Day? Who are you really? She looked into his worried eyes and made a decision. Earth Command wanted to remove her. But perhaps there was another way if the Vex were suddenly interested in talking. This could be the chance they had been waiting for. Let us close early today, she told Jun. I have a story to tell you, and you might not believe it. That evening, as the station's artificial night cycle began, Day explained everything to Jun in her small apartment above the tea shop, about Earth worries over Vex expansion, about her training in the secret martial art of Sundo, about her real mission. So you are a spy, Jun said when she finished. Intelligence operative, she corrected with a small smile. And now I have a choice to make. Before she could say more, her security sensors beeped. Someone was coming to her door, someone moving very quietly. We have company, she whispered. The door to Day's apartment opened before she could reach it. A tall figure slipped inside like a shadow, not blue like the Vex, but green with silver patterns across its skin sole. Day breathed in surprise. What are you doing here? The Meridian scout put a finger to his lips. Sewell had been Day contact on several missions before she came to Centauri Station. His species was known for their stealth and information-gathering abilities. Your little show in the arena has changed everything, Sol said, his voice soft whistle. The Vex are panicking. Jun looked between them. You know each other. We have worked together, Dai explained briefly. Sol, this is Jun. He knows everything now. The Meridian compound eyes studied Jun for a moment before he continued. The Vex. We're planning to announce a new weapon tomorrow, a device that can disrupt neural patterns. They have been testing it on captured fighters. That is why they have won so many arena matches. Day frowned. And now they fear you have similar technology, or worse, natural immunity. Sol moved to the window, checking the street below. Their ambassador does not want diplomacy. He wants to study you. Jun's face went pale. They want to take you apart. I will not let that happen, Dee said firmly. She turned to Sol. What is Earth Command saying? They still want extraction, but Sol stopped. The Meridian Council believes this is a chance if humans can resist Vex neural technology. It changes the balance of power in this sector. Day walked around the small room. She had been sent to gather intelligence, not start a problem between species, but her demonstration of Sundo in the arena had revealed something important. Perhaps humans had natural defenses against Vex weaponry. I need to meet with the ambassador, she decided, but on my terms, not theirs. Jun grabbed her arm. It is too dangerous. Actually, Sol added, it might be safer than running. The station is locked down. Vex ships are watching all departure routes. Day nodded. Then I will face them directly. She looked at June. I need your help. By morning, word had spread that Day had requested a public meeting with the Vex ambassador. Rather than a private one, she would meet him in the station central plaza, where everyone could witness their discussion. The plaza filled quickly. Beings from dozens of worlds gathered, drawn by rumors about the human who had defeated Krell station security, formed a circle looking nervous. Day arrived exactly on time, wearing simple black clothing, similar to what she had worn. In the arena, June and Sol positioned themselves carefully in the crowd, ready to act if things went wrong. The Vex delegation arrived with ceremony. 6 guards surrounded an older Vex with pale blue skin and fancy golden markings. Ambassador Crom was known as a skilled diplomat and a ruthless strategist human. He greeted her, voice deep. You have caused quite a stir. Sometimes a small stone creates large ripples, Day replied calmly. The ambassador mouth twitched. Indeed. I understand you use an unusual fighting technique, one that allows you to channel energy through your body. It is called Sundo, an ancient earth practice. Fascinating. The Vex Empire would be very interested in learning more about this Sundo. Perhaps you would consider becoming a teacher for our warriors. Day smiled politely. I'm afraid that is not possible. Sundo can only be learned by those with the right biological makeup, a lie, but a necessary one. She needed the Vex to believe humans had natural abilities their species could not copy. The ambassador. 4 hands clasped together. Perhaps we could discuss this further in our laboratories. We have excellent research facilities. I prefer to remain on the station, Day said. Then she added casually, by the way, how is Krell recovering? I understand he was working on some new neural technology before our match. The ambassador, yellow eyes narrowed. The crowd whispered, sensing tension. You seem very well informed for a tea vendor. Ambassador Crom said coldly. Information flows like good tea freely among friends. Day stepped closer. Let me be direct. Ambassador Earth knows about the neural disruptors. We know the Vex plan to use them against civilian populations, not just in arena matches. The ambassador stood straighter. You make bold accusations, not accusations, facts. Day's voice remained calm but carried across the plaza. What the Vex do not know is that humans are not the only species immune to your technology. The Meridians, the Archons, the Tellarites all have developed countermeasures. This was Sol intelligence, partly true, partly bluff. The Meridians had indeed found the Vex technology and were working on defenses. The Vex Empire has no hostile intentions, the ambassador declared loudly. Our research is for defensive purposes only. Then you will not mind sharing your research data, Day suggested as a gesture of good faith between our peoples. The crowd was silent now, watching the verbal fight with interest. Ambassador Crom. 4 hands moved in agitation. He clearly had not expected to be confronted publicly. This discussion is not appropriate for such a setting. I disagree. Day replied. Peace thrives in the open, not in shadows. She could see the calculations happening behind the ambassador's eyes. The Vex had planned to introduce their weapon from a position of strength. Now, with rumors of immunity spreading, their advantage was disappearing. Perhaps, the ambassador said finally, a joint research. As the Vex delegation departed, June and Sol approached. Day, that was very dangerous, June said, but also very clever. Sol nodded. The Meridian Council will be pleased, but watch your back. The Vex hate losing face. Day knew the danger was not over. The Vex would regroup, plan, and likely try to capture her again, but she had bought time and changed the situation. Now Earth Command and their allies could use this new information. Let's get back to the shop, she said. I need to think. As they walked through the crowd, Day noticed something unexpected. Beings from different species nodding to her with respect. Not just for her fighting skills, but for standing up to the Vex. One small human had changed the game, and the galaxy was watching. 3 days after, The public meeting day tea shop had never been busier. Beings from across the station came not just for tea but to see the human who had stood up to the Vex. Many asked for demonstrations of Sundo, which she politely refused. Tea is my business, she would say, not fighting. But preparation for trouble continued behind the scenes. Earth Command had sent secret approval of her actions and asked her to stay on the station. The Meridian Council had sent a diplomatic ship. Even the station administrator, Han, had privately thanked her for forcing the Vex into talks rather than aggression. Only Jun seemed troubled. "You have made yourself a target," he said, as they closed the shop late one evening. The Vex Never Forgive Day touched his hand. "I can take care of myself." I know his eyes met hers. That's not what worries me. Before she could ask what he meant, her security scanner vibrated. Someone was approaching the shop. Multiple people moving with purpose. "Get back," she whispered, pushing Jun toward the storage room. The shop door opened and 4 Vex soldiers entered. Not Imperial guards in fancy armor, but special forces in black combat gear. "Day of Earth," the lead soldier stated. "Ambassador Crom requests your immediate presence." "It is after business hours," she replied calmly. "Perhaps tomorrow during the diplomatic session." Now the soldier hand rested on his weapon. Day considered her options. She could fight and likely win, but it would break the fragile diplomatic progress, or she could go with them and trust in her abilities and training. Very well, she decided. "Let me lock up." As she secured the shop, she pressed a hidden button under the counter, activating the emergency signal to Sol and Earth Command. Then she slipped a small metal disc, a Meridian tracking device, into her sleeve. "I will return soon," she told Jun loud enough for the Vex to hear. The soldiers took her not to the diplomatic quarters but to a Vex ship docked at the station. Inside, the air was cooler and had the metallic smell the Vex preferred. They led her through winding corridors to a large room that looked more like a laboratory than a meeting room. Ambassador Crom waited inside along with a Vex she did not know, one with deeper blue skin and strange metal implants visible at his temples. "Researcher Maz," the ambassador introduced him, "our leading expert on neural science." Day bowed slightly. "I was not aware we were meeting for scientific discussions." "Science is the foundation of all meaningful diplomacy," Crom replied smoothly. "Please sit." The chair they showed was clearly designed for restraints, though they remained open for now. Day chose to stand. "I prefer to stand, thank you, and I prefer official meetings to happen through official channels." The ambassador, false politeness, disappeared. "You have caused enough disruption, human. We know your claims about widespread immunity are false. The question is, what makes you different?" Researcher Maz stepped forward holding a small device. "This will not hurt. It simply measures neural patterns." Day backed away. "I decline." The door sealed shut behind her. The guards moved closer. "This is not a request," Ambassador Crom said coldly. Day sighed. "I was hoping diplomacy would work." What happened next occurred so quickly that even the Vex security cameras would later have trouble showing it clearly. Day moved like water flowing between the guards before they could react one moment. She stood surrounded the next. All 4 guards lay on the floor, gasping. She had not hit them, merely touched precise points that temporarily disrupted their nervous systems. Ambassador Crom backed away in alarm. "Restrain her." Researcher Maz jumped forward with surprising speed, pressing a device against Day's neck. A sharp pain spread from the point of contact, and her vision blurred for a moment. "Neural disruptor advanced prototype," Maz said with satisfaction. "Your Sundo cannot protect you now." Day's legs weakened, and she dropped to one knee. The room seemed to spin around her. This was stronger than the device they had used. On arena fighters, much stronger. "Take her to the examination room," the ambassador ordered. The guards had recovered enough to move again. They grabbed D's arms, and she allowed herself to be dragged forward, her head hanging as if severely affected by the disruptor. But inside, she was focusing her energy using Sundo techniques to clear the interference from her nervous system. The Vex device was powerful, but not powerful enough. Her grandmother's training echoed in her mind. Control begins within. Master yourself first, the world second. They secured her to an examination table, confident in their technology. Researcher Maz prepared various scanning devices while Ambassador Crom watched with cold satisfaction. The human nervous system is fascinating. Maz commented, so primitive yet surprisingly resilient. Just get what we need. Crom replied, once we understand her immunity, we can redesign the disruptors. Day kept her eyes half closed, watching the room. 4 guards at the door, the researcher and ambassador. Near the equipment, various medical devices that could become weapons if necessary. A sudden noise outside the door interrupted Ma's preparations, shouting voices, then weapons fire. The door opened, and Jun stumbled in bleeding and held at gunpoint by more Vex guards. We found this one trying to access the ship, a guard reported. Day heart sank. Jun must have followed her instead of contacting Saul as planned, the mechanic friend Ambassador Crom said. Studying June, how convenient. Let her go, June demanded, struggling against the guards. The ambassador smiled. Perhaps you can convince your friend to cooperate, otherwise we will need to see if you share her neural immunity. Day met Jun eyes across the room. Something in his gaze seemed off, a calmness that did not match his apparent distress. Then June smiled slightly and said in Korean, 3, 2, 1. The ship's lights went out completely. Emergency systems started seconds later, bathing everything in dim red light. In that moment of darkness and confusion, Day made her move the restraints designed for much stronger beings, had just enough give for her to slip her right hand free using a technique she had learned for exactly this purpose. By the time the red lights showed the room again, she was standing. Beside the table, free. Impossible, researcher Maz gasped. The doors burst open as more figures entered. Not Vex, but Meridians in combat gear. Saul among them. Station security protocol violation. Saul announced formally, all beings on this vessel are ordered to stand down by authority of Station Administrator Han. The Vex guards hesitated, looking to Ambassador Crom for instruction. This is a diplomatic vessel. The ambassador protested. You have no jurisdiction. Actually, Jun said suddenly, standing straight, no longer appearing injured. Abduction of station residents violates Section 17 of the Centauri Accords, which the Vex Empire signed last year, that overrides diplomatic immunity. Day looked at Jun with new appreciation. You are not really a mechanic. He shrugged. Not just a mechanic, as the Meridian security team secured the Vex personnel. Saul approached Day. Are you injured? Our sensors detected a neural disruption pulse. I am fine, she assured him. Their device needs work. Ambassador Crom now. Underguard glared at her. This incident will have serious diplomatic consequences. Dai agreed for the Vex Empire. She turned to Saul. Make sure all their research data is secured. Earth Command will want to see exactly what they have been developing. As they left the ship, June walked beside her station security coordinator. He admitted, assigned to watch you when you first arrived. Day laughed. We have both been keeping secrets. Does this mean you are leaving the station now? He asked as they walked through the docking bay. Mission accomplished and all that. Day thought about it. Her cover was blown. But something new had begun here. An alliance against Vex aggression, started by one simple tea vendor who broke a champion's arm without moving her feet. Actually, she said, I think my mission just got more interesting. 1 week later, representatives from Earth, the Meridian worlds, and 3 other systems gathered in Centauri Station's main council chamber. The Vex incident had accelerated diplomatic talks that had been stalled for years. Day, now officially recognized as Earth's representative, sat at the main table. Her tea shop temporarily closed while she took on new responsibilities. Ambassador Crom remained the Vex representative, though his position was now much weaker. The evidence recovered from the ship had revealed plans for using the neural disruptors against civilian populations throughout the sector. Today we formalized the Centauri Alliance. Sol announced as the meeting began. A mutual defense pact against aggression and weapons of mass control. Jun, now openly serving as station security chief, stood near the door, his eyes meeting Day across the room. They had little time together now, both busy with new duties, but the connection between them had only grown stronger. The first item of business, Ambassador Crom said, his voice strained, as compensation for the illegal boarding of a diplomatic vessel administrator. Han shook his head. The first item is the Vex Empire, explaining why they were developing neural weapons in violation of the galactic conventions. As the debate grew heated, Day remained calm, watching silently. The Vex battlecruiser arrived 3 days earlier than expected, its massive form casting a shadow over Centauri Station. Alarms sounded throughout the station as the huge warship took position. Nearby, Day was in a meeting with Sol and representatives from the new alliance when Administrator Han burst into the room. "They are demanding we hand you over," he said, his face pale. "They say you stole Vex military secrets. How many ships do we have defending the station?" Day asked calmly. "2 Meridian patrol vessels," Han replied, "and 1 small Earth scout ship. The rest are still 2 days away. Not enough to fight a battlecruiser," Sol said, his green skin looking darker with worry. "We will not be fighting." Day stood up, gathering her data pad. "I will speak." With them, Jun, who had been standing guard by the door, stepped forward. "That is exactly what they want to get you back on a Vex ship. Sometimes the direct approach is best." Day replied, "Open a channel to the cruiser." The main screen in the council chamber flickered to life, showing a Vex military commander. His blue skin almost purple with decorative scars marking his high-rank gold bands covered all 4 of his arms. "I am Fleet Commander Vrax." His voice boomed through the speakers. "You have 20 units of time to surrender the human spy and all stolen research data, or we will take appropriate action." Day stepped forward. "I am Day, representative of Earth. What specific crimes am I accused of?" The commander eyes narrowed. "You humiliated a Vex champion, invaded a diplomatic vessel, and stole classified military information. Your punishment will be decided by a Vex tribunal." "Interesting," Day replied. "Ambassador Crom invited me to that vessel, then attempted to use an illegal neural disruptor against me in violation of the Centauri Accords. We have the evidence." The commander's face showed no reaction. "You will surrender to Vex authority or face the consequences." Day smiled slightly. "Remind me, Commander, what does the Galactic Convention say about using neural disruptors against civilian populations?" There was a brief pause, the slightest hesitation in the commander's expression. Day continued the research data. "Your ambassador was so eager to recover details. Plans to use these weapons against civilians on 12 worlds, including 3 of your own allies. I wonder how they would react if we shared this information." Commander Vrax leaned forward. "You dare threaten the Vex Empire." "Not a threat, just a fact," Day replied. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion in person. You are welcome to dock and meet with the full council." The screen went dark as the Vex commander cut the transmission. "That went well," Jun said sarcastically. Day turned to Administrator Han. "How long would a full evacuation of the station take?" Han looked shocked. "Evacuation, but that would mean..." "How long?" Day repeated. "At least 12 hours for essential personnel. Longer for all civilians." Han replied. "Then we should begin," Sol said. Understanding Day, thinking we cannot withstand a direct assault from a battlecruiser. "Start moving people to the intersections," Day instructed, "and prepare emergency shuttles just in case." She turned to Jun. "We need time." Jun nodded, looking at his security pad. "I might have an idea." He said the station defensive grid was designed to repel asteroids, but with some adjustments. "Get it done," Day said, then looked at Sol. "I need to contact your ship." 20 minutes later, Day stood in the Meridian Vessel Command Center, a small but advanced ship currently docked at the station's north port. "You want to do what the Meridian captain asked," his compound eyes blinking rapidly. "Board the Vex cruiser." Day repeated, "The neural disruptor research is too dangerous to leave in their hands. We need the source code to develop effective countermeasures. That is suicide." The captain said, "Even with your abilities." "Not alone," Day agreed. "I need 3 of your best stealth operatives and access to your phase shifter technology." Sol, who had been listening, quietly spoke up. "The phase shifters are experimental, highly classified. Then it's good I'm already cleared for top secret information," Day replied with a small smile. The Meridian captain and Sol exchanged looks. This human female had already changed. The balance of power in the sector was this. Another moment that would alter the course of events. "We will need approval from the Meridian Council," Sol said. "You have it?" a voice said from the doorway. They all turned to see a tall Meridian elder, his green skin adorned with the silver markings of the High Council. The holographic communicator in the corner showed he had been listening to their conversation. "Elder Taz," Sol bowed deeply. The elder stepped forward. I have watched these events with great interest. This human has shown courage, vision, and skill qualities we value. He turned to Day. You shall have what you need. But understand this mission is not sanctioned officially. If you are captured, the council cannot acknowledge you. Day bowed. In the Meridian style, I understand. As preparations began, Day received a call from Jun Station. Defenses are ready, but they cannot hold for long against a cruiser. I only need 2 hours. Day told him how are the evacuation preparations. Proceeding 40% of civilians are moved to the intersections. Tell Han to speed it up. Day said, I expect the Vex will make their move soon. What exactly are you planning? Jun asked, his voice concerned. Something unexpected, Day replied. Meeting with Commander Vrax, but not where he expects. Jun was silent for a moment. Be careful, he said finally. Always. Day responded softly, then ended the call. The phase shifter technology was unlike anything Dee had seen before, a small device attached to her forearm that could bend light around her, making her nearly invisible to most detection systems. Combined with the Meridian stealth suits, she and the 3 Meridian operatives would be able to slip past Vex security. 1 hour later, they launched in a small unmarked shuttle ostensibly carrying medical supplies to a nearby outpost. In reality, on an intercept course with the Vex cruiser A's. If on cue, the Vex made their move, the battlecruiser powered up its weapon systems and transmitted another messenger. Time has expired, Commander Vrax announced. Prepare to be boarded. The station defensive grid activated, sending pulses of energy designed to interfere with Vex targeting systems, buying precious minutes as the evacuation continued. Meanwhile, the small shuttle approached the cruiser from below, using the station's energy emissions as cover. When they were within range, Day and the Meridian operatives activated their phase shifters and jumped. Space was cold even through the protective suit as Day flew through the void toward the cruiser. Guided by the small thrusters on her back, the Meridians moved with practiced ease, clearly familiar with spacewalking. But Day had only trained for this, never actually done it. They reached the outer hull. Near a maintenance hatch, one of the Meridians quickly bypassed the security, and they slipped inside, returning to visibility once the hatch closed behind them. We have 30 minutes before the shift change. Trell, the lead Meridian operative, whispered. According to the ship schematics, the main computer core is 3 levels down. Day nodded, checking her small data extraction device. This will need 5 minutes connected to their main system to get the source code. They moved through the ship like shadows, avoiding patrols and using service tunnels to bypass high-traffic areas. The phase shifters allowed them to become nearly invisible when needed, but used significant power each time. They had reached the 2nd level when alarms blared throughout. The ship intruder alert security teams to level 4, Section 8, a voice announced. That's not us, Trell said, looking confused. Something else is happening. Day realized they reached a communication panel, and Trell quickly hacked into it. Station security. Teams have boarded through the forward docking bay. Trell read from the screen. They are led by a human male, Jun. Day whispered. He created a diversion. We need to move faster. Another Meridian said. Our window is closing. They reached the computer core. With surprising ease, most security teams having been diverted to the forward section. Where Jun and his team were causing chaos inside was a large room filled with glowing data columns. A few technicians worked at stations, but no guards were present. Meridians moved swiftly, immobilizing the technicians with stun weapons, while Day located the central access point and connected her device. Download initiated, estimated time 4 minutes. The device displayed. Hurry, Trell urged. We need to reach the extraction point. Meridians were known for their patience, but even they looked nervous as the seconds ticked by. The sounds of combat echoing from distant parts of the ship. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. Suddenly, the door to the computer core slid open, and Commander Vrax himself stood there, flanked by elite guards, his eyes widening at the sight of intruders at his main computer. The human spy, he growled, all 4 arms reaching for weapons. 1 minute. Day stepped forward, remembering her training focus. Energy move with purpose. She faced the Vex commander directly. You should be on the bridge, Commander, she said calmly. The commander's response was to fire his weapon. the energy bolt passing through the space where Day had been a millisecond earlier. She flowed like water around the attack, moving closer with each step. The guards fired as well, but the Meridians had activated their phase shifters, becoming hard to target the room filled with energy bolts. None finding their marks. 30 seconds, Commander. Frax roared in frustration, dropping his weapons and charging directly at Day. His forearms extended to grab her. She waited until the last possible moment, then simply touched him, just as she had touched Krell in the arena, channeling Sundo energy. Through precise points, the massive Vex commander crashed to the floor. His nervous system temporarily overloaded. Download complete. The device beeped. Day grabbed it and nodded to Trell, time to Leah. 1 month after the confrontation with the Vex battlecruiser, Centauri Station had changed. Where once the Vex had controlled trade and politics, now a careful balance of power existed. Earth Meridian and 3 other systems had formed a joint security council to oversee station operations. Ambassador Crom had been recalled to the Vex homeworld, replaced by a more moderate representative. And at the center of these changes, somewhat reluctantly, stood Day. I never wanted to be famous, she told June as they sat in her tea shop. After hours, I was trained for shadows, not spotlights. Jun, now openly serving as the station's security chief, smiled. Sometimes the universe has other plans. Since the confrontation, Day had received 2 sets of orders from Earth. Command 1 public, 1 secret. Publicly, she had been appointed as Earth's representative to the new Security Council. Secretly, she was tasked with monitoring Vex activities and training a small group in defensive techniques against neural weapons. Speaking of plans, June said, sliding a data pad across the table. The Earth transport arrives tomorrow with your new staff, and Sol reports the Meridian defense specialists will be here next week. Day nodded, reviewing the information. Her tea shop had become an unofficial headquarters, with the back room converted into a secure communications center. Any word on Krell, she asked. Still on the Vex homeworld, according to our sources, June replied, apparently breaking his arm, damaged more than his pride. They say he is obsessed with learning how you defeated him. Day sipped her tea thoughtfully. He will be back. We will be ready, June assured her. Their moment of quiet was interrupted by a soft chime from the door. After hours, that could only be someone with special access. The door opened to reveal Administrator Han, looking tired but satisfied it is done. He announced the council voted to implement the neural defense grid throughout the station. This was important news. The defense grid, based on technology developed from studying the Vex disruptors, would protect all station residents from neural interference. No one could be controlled or harmed by such weapons within Centauri walls. The Vex representative did not object. Dai asked. Could not, Han said, with a small smile. Not after what we discovered in their research data. Planned mass use targeting civilian populations. Even their allies were horrified. Day nodded. The evidence Trell and his team had recovered from the Vex ship had revealed plans far more extensive than anyone had suspected. The Vex had not just been developing weapons for the arena. They had been preparing for galactic control. What about the training program? June asked, approved as well. Han confirmed, though there was debate about whether Sundo techniques can actually be taught to non-humans. Day smiled. Energy is universal. The techniques can be adapted. After Han left, Jun helped Day close the shop. The routine had become familiar. Check the security systems, activate the scanners, ensure the special tea blends were properly sealed. Do you miss it? Jun asked suddenly, the simplicity of just being a tea vendor. Day considered the question sometimes. But this was always my path, even if I did not know exactly where it would lead. As they stepped outside into the station's main promenade, the artificial night cycle was beginning above them. Through the vast, transparent dome, distant stars shimmered somewhere out there. The Vex were regrouping, planning. But for now, this small corner of the galaxy had found a new balance. You changed everything. You know, Jun said quietly. One person standing up made all the difference. Not one person, Day corrected. I had help. She looked at him meaningfully. Their hands found each other in the dim light of the promenade, human fingers intertwining a diplomat and a security officer, both far more than they had first appeared to be. What do you think happens next? June asked. Day looked up at the stars. The Vex will not give up easily. This is just the beginning of something bigger. Sounds dangerous, it is. She squeezed his hand, but worth fighting for. As they walked back toward the residential sector, Day thought about how it had all started with an alien champion pointing and laughing at a human he thought was weak. How quickly things could change when appearances proved false. The tea shop sign glowed softly behind them. Earth Treasures. It read a simple cover that had become something real and meaningful. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, Earth representatives to welcome defense techniques, to teach diplomatic meetings, to attend the path of a warrior. Was never simple or easy. But tonight, walking hand in hand beneath artificial stars, Day felt something she had not expected. To find so far from home peace. She had broken an arm without moving her feet now. Perhaps she could help build a future using the same idea, standing firm, centered, and ready for whatever came next. 3 weeks later, the first graduates of Day training program demonstrated their skills in a public ceremony. Beings from 6 different species showing basic Sundo techniques adapted to their unique biologies. Impressive, Saul said, watching a Meridian trainee redirect energy around his body without being affected. You have achieved something many thought impossible. The principles are universal, Day explained. Focus, balance, energy control. These exist beyond human experience. The demonstration ended with thunderous applause from the gathered crowd, each graduate receiving a small wooden pin showing intertwined symbols of their homeworld and Earth, a sign of their new shared knowledge. Later that day, Day received an urgent message from Earth Command. Intelligence reports indicated unusual activity. At the Vex border stations, ships gathering resources being moved, star charts being updated. They are planning something, June said, reviewing the data with her. But what Dai studied the star charts, focusing on the patterns emerging there. 4 systems that had previously been under Vex influence had declared neutrality in the past week. 3 others had formally requested alliance membership. The Vex Empire is facing internal pressure. She realized our stand here has inspired others. A message interrupted their analysis. It was from the new Vex representative requesting an immediate meeting trap. June asked. Possibly, Dai agreed. But we should hear what they have to say. The meeting took place in neutral territory, the station's central council chamber, with security teams from 3 different species standing guard. The new Vex representative Core was younger than Crom, his blue skin lighter, his manner less aggressive. Thank you for agreeing to meet Representative Day. He began formally. I bring a message. From the Vex High Command. Day nodded politely. I am listening. The Vex Empire wishes to propose formal peace negotiations, a mutual defense treaty and technology exchange. Jun, who stood behind Day's chair, stiffened in surprise. This was unexpected. And what does the Vex Empire want in return? Dai asked, keeping her face neutral. The neural disruptor research must be destroyed, all copies in the Alliance's possession. Core stated, and the human known as Day must agree to teach Sundo to selected Vex students, so they still wanted her secret. The request was both a compliment and a threat. I will bring your proposal to the Alliance Council. Day replied, and I have a counter-proposal. The Vex representative tilted his head. I am authorized to hear preliminary terms. The neural disruptor research will be sealed, not destroyed. Day said a joint Vex Alliance team will oversee its containment. As for teaching Sundo, she paused. It is not mine to give freely, but I would consider teaching basic techniques to any species that joins the Mutual Protection Agreement. Core studied her, his yellow eyes unblinking. The Vex Empire does not join, it leads. Perhaps that is the problem, Day suggested gently. The meeting ended without resolution. But it was a beginning. The first serious diplomatic exchange since the confrontation. This changes things, June said as they left the chamber. Not as much as you might think, Day replied. They still want control. They are just trying a new approach. That night, Day practiced her Sundo forms in the training facility that had once been her apartment, the slow, graceful movements helping her find calm and clarity as she considered the future. A soft knock interrupted her practice. June stood in the doorway watching. The Earth delegation is requesting your presence, he said. Tomorrow they want to discuss expanding the program beyond the station. Another step on this unexpected path, Day thought, as they walked together through the quiet station corridors. Jun touched her hand gently. When all this began, did you ever imagine where it would lead? Day smiled. I was just a tea vendor who broke an arrogant alien's arm. And now? Now she looked around at the station that had become her home, at the people of many species, who nodded respectfully. As they passed now, we build something that lasts. The Vex had laughed at human weakness only to discover human strength. The universe had a sense of humor after all. As they reached the observation deck overlooking the docking bay ships from a dozen, worlds now filled the ports once dominated by Vex vessels, a visible sign of the change that had begun with one small act of defiance. Sometimes, Jun said, the smallest action creates the biggest change. Day nodded, taking his hand. Sometimes, all it takes is standing your ground.